Hi, welcome to this week's talk. I'm Gerard Evans. I'm joined by John Wilde. Hello,
Hi
John.
there.
And today we're going to talk about dating, particularly first dates and so on, and the STILLNOW solutions for all the issues you can get with dating, with thought of dating and so on. And you wanted to start off with a little story, John.
Well, yeah, this story I think illustrates just how this can be a very simple thing, and perhaps should be a simple thing, but it's a very easy thing to overthink. It's a very easy thing to get wrong if we do overthink it. So yeah, I was recently just enjoying a quiet drink in a bar in Brighton with my good friend Andy, who's a psychotherapist. That's kind of incidental. Anyway, we're sitting there having a chat, and I noticed this guy sitting at the next table, and observed him quietly for a minute or so. And I said to Andy, "That guy's waiting for a date, and it's his first date." And Andy said, "How do you work that out?" And I said, "Just watch him." And so we just quietly, not sort of rudely, we weren't gawping at the guy, but just kind of keeping an eye on what was happening. And every 5 seconds, he'd look in the mirror at the bar and check his hair, and he'd look at his watch every 15 seconds, and he was drinking like a fish. It was going down very, very quickly. You could see he was anxious, and so anyway, eventually, inevitably, this young lady turns up, and it's the date, and so we were kind of just in trance. We kind of talking, we continue our conversation, keeping an eye on what was happening at this table. So for the first, what really transpired over the course of half an hour was that this guy just simply wasn't present. He wasn't present. He wasn't listening, and they're fundamental mistakes. They are guarantees, cast iron guarantees that it's highly unlikely that a date is going to go well if you're not present, and if you've just got no facility for listening. So this guy, he just talked at this woman for half an hour, without her getting a word in. He talked about his job, his car. He talked a lot about his car, and I noticed that whenever he mentioned the car, she'd always glance furtively at her watch, which is very telling. Yeah. And it just made me think. And here's the thing: I'm not saying this in a mocking way whatsoever, because although I may not myself have been in an identical situation, I've certainly gone on first dates and second dates and third dates and made those fundamental mistakes very easily. Most of us do.
Yeah, we've all probably lacked the confidence and therefore tried to overcompensate in perhaps not very skillful ways.
Drinking. This guy must have put away about 3 pints before his date arrived. Right. So he got there very early, probably I'd guess deliberately so he could get what we'd call a few stiffeners inside him, before she actually arrived. And so he was kind of very slurry by that point and just simply not present. And so over the course of this talk, we're going to explain what that means about being present when you're in the company of somebody.
Yeah, that's how to do it wrong, and we should probably move swiftly on to how to do it more skillfully. I think right is probably a bit of a funny word, because being yourself is the only right thing to do, really.
It is absolutely. And so let's start talking a little bit about, before we come on to talk about how the guided meditations can help you approach a date in a far more calm, mindful way. We could talk about the idea of being attached to outcome.
Absolutely, yeah. I think intention is the first thing to get right if you're dating. This is presuming you're dating with some kind of desire to get a partner. I think to stop being single or whatever.
As opposed to a quick knee trembler.
Well,
in an alleyway or something like that.
Yeah, I dare say if you're just playing the field, then you're probably not listening to this. So if people are kind of nervous, anxious about dating, about themselves, about what the other person might think, I think attachment to outcome is the first thing we want to cover here, really, because the only healthy way to meet up with somebody on a date is to enjoy the evening.
Mm-hmm.
I think not to sort of be worried about where it might go, where it might not go, what they think of you or anything like that. To realise, very, very simply, to sort of say to yourself, to take a few deep breaths and say, I am enough.
Mm.
And you will be, when you meet that perfect man or that perfect woman, you will be enough. You don't have to try. That's pretty much the definition of a relationship going well, is that they will like you for being you.
Mm-hmm.
And to bring up the Oscar Wilde quote, you might as well be you because everyone else is taken.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't really got much of a choice. So it's moving from performance to presence is the skill here, I think. So with the help of the meditations, it's all about self-acceptance. So this is me, you're you, let's just have a really nice evening, you know, let's just kind of meet each other and find out. And if it doesn't work, that's fine. Particularly in the age of internet dating, there really are plenty more fish in the sea.
Absolutely.
And if it does work, that's fine. But don't blow it by being attached to the idea of she might be the one, she might be the one.
Yeah.
Which moves us to presence, of course.
Yeah.
To be present for the benefit of people who are new to the concept is essentially to be thinking about what's going on right now in front of you, around you, rather than fretting about what's happened in the past or worrying about what's happening in the future.
You might be thinking about previous dates, for example, how they've gone. That's not being present.
No, quite. And if you're thinking, oh my God, this girl is really beautiful, or this guy is really handsome, I really hope this goes somewhere, that's not being present either.
Mm-hmm.
Being present is enjoying the moment, because those moments are only there to either enjoy or to not enjoy.
Mm.
It's really quite binary in that respect, I think. And you can enjoy them. One day, if you're looking for your perfect partner, one day you'll find them, and you'll look back at the dates that didn't work out and you'll think, why was I so stressed out?
Mm-hmm. And it can be incredibly stressful for people. I mean, and one of the reasons is that people pile so much pressure on themselves. You know, we could almost break this down into a before, during and after kind of segments. So you've talked about the before, which involves telling yourself repeatedly, if necessary, I mustn't get too attached to outcome. I've got no idea how this is going to go. The person turning up, be it male or female, is probably going to be as anxious as you are. That's something worth bearing in mind.
Absolutely.
And don't overthink everything. It's like, you don't need to spend a week deciding on which shirt to buy. The shirt, unless it's a truly appalling shirt, is not going to be the deal breaker here.
Well, you might even get away with a truly appalling shirt.
Absolutely.
Really, I mean, the guy you were talking about in your story who's kind of checking his looks in the mirror every 5 minutes, the most immediate thing, perhaps from a distance is how you look, but the most immediate thing when two people come within arm's length of each other or near each other is nothing to do with how you look, it's what you radiate.
Yeah.
And what you radiate is the sort of secret skill, if you like, that these meditations will help you with.
Mm-hmm. So don't get caught up in the idea before you even turn up that this person is going to be out of your league. There's no such thing as leagues. It's we buy into this kind of Hollywood idea that sort of the George Clooney's of the world end up with the Jennifer Lopez's or whoever of the world, and further on down the ladder, as it were. It's not how it works at all. I mean, you just got to wander along any high street in the country, and you see people who on first sight aren't particularly well matched, but they're going out, they're in relationships, and when you talk to people about this, people's taste in other people is much wider than I think we give it credit to. This notion that men are into a certain kind of woman and women are all after George Clooney, it's absolutely nonsense.
It is nonsense, yeah. It is nonsense.
But it's powerful nonsense.
We're surrounded, aren't we, by false narratives. We're surrounded by stories. I mean, every television programme, every love song, perhaps not every programme and every love song, but the vast kind of the vast majority, the loudest voice by far, is trying to push this stuff on us that isn't really true, and it's really a skill that people are losing. I think over the generations of just taking all this stuff with a pinch of salt and realising that real life is a bit different to that.
It's a lot more unpredictable. It's a lot more surprising.
Yeah.
So those are all things to sort of bear in mind, and this brings us probably a good point to mention the guided meditations. They will help you approach this state in a far more relaxed, composed way.
Because they help you approach yourself in a far more relaxed and accepting way. I think that's where the sort of skill can be really developed, and anyone who really wants to develop that skill can take it way beyond just this meditation pack as well, and just get really into any kind of meditations that promote compassion and self-acceptance, self-compassion, and just generally becoming your own best friend will help you to be sort of friends with other people.
Yeah, and all that's really important in the work you can do. Well, it's not really work; it's practice that you can do. Before a date, kind of just being aware. Excuse me, seeing through those illusions, for what they are, and actually, by the time hopefully you arrive at the date itself, you're prepared to be present. You're prepared to be present. So and we'll go into this in the you'll notice, we'll go into this in all this will be addressed in the guided meditations, that by the time you arrive, you could check your breathing, just check, just feel your feet on the floor. These are ways of coming into the moment, of being present.
Yeah, coming into your body. If you're feeling adrenaline or nerves, just think, where am I feeling it? Is it in my head? Is it in my tummy? Is it in my legs?
Yeah.
And the minute you start doing that, it's quite astonishing. I found it quite sort of profoundly mind blowing when I started doing that about general situations that involved anxiety.
Because what we're doing there, very simply, with these meditations, we're learning how to shift from the thinking. The thinking component, the thinking role that we play, the overthinking in this case, and we're shifting. It's such a simple thing to do. It's shifting from the thinking and the overthinking to being present in our own bodies, just simply noticing how we're feeling at this moment, rather than just allowing these, as I'm sure this guy sitting next to us at the table, at the next table, was doing, just being overwhelmed by thoughts. Is she going to like me? Did I choose the right tie? I'll check for the 1000th time, is my hair looking okay?
Not thinking he's enough.
Right.
Not quietly saying to himself, I am enough. And this person, the experience can only be better if you think that to yourself, I think. I think it's also worth mentioning that with meditations and mindfulness as a skillful response to the whole kind of dating game, and indeed human interactions, really, it's not like a sort of pill you take an hour before you go out. This is work you do on yourself, that you can do right from the minute you listen to this, right throughout your dating career, and of course beyond, because the gifts that this will give you, the skills that this will give you, will benefit you in all sorts of areas of your life. Anything really that promotes those same kind of anxious moments, job interviews, just bumping into someone you're not too sure about, anything like that. So what you're doing here is you're developing skills that are absolutely transferable across life, but will really help you when it comes to meeting someone with the idea of checking them out for a relationship.
Yeah, and some things should go without saying. Be presentable. That's obviously, nobody wants to turn up to a date and see somebody who's scruffy and unkempt and hasn't showered.
I'm thinking back to when I was a punk rocker.
Well, there's probably a niche market for that sort of thing. But being present, being prepared to listen. And being open to the experience, open of where the experience how the experience is going to be, and where it's going to lead. You've got no idea.
Absolutely,
You know.
and studies have shown, haven't they, that the people who are socially the most popular are the people who ask the most questions.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not about you burbling out some kind of CV of why you're the perfect partner. It's about asking the other person. People love it when you take an interest in them.
Absolutely. So what this guy at the other table was doing was he was doing a sales job on her, right, on this woman. He was basically, it was like a checklist. You know, he mentioned he just bought a flat. He did some really boring job, which he really should have been mentioned, and probably he should have moved on from, but he insisted on explaining why this job was the most fascinating job in the world, and it wasn't. And the car, it was almost like he bought into the idea that he could sell himself on these things. This woman, I'm sure most women and most men are not interested in you reading out a checklist of things as to why they should find you attractive. See, when people say there's nothing, you often hear there's nothing sexier than confidence. Confidence doesn't mean sitting there selling yourself shamelessly to somebody, you know, just reading out a checklist of.
True confidence is not doing that.
True confidence is being yourself, and crucially listening. You know, really, I mean, to my mind, few things sexier than being listened to. You know, really, somebody really interested in what you've got to say.
Absolutely, and when you're having a conversation, to actually listen rather than just wait for the end of the sentence so you can get your next bit in.
Yeah, that's not listening. That's not
presence.
Yeah. No, that's waiting to get your bit in. I mean, that's kind of biding your time.
Pretty unattractive to the other person.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that person will like you. However it turns out, that person will like you for the fact that you're able to listen, that you're curious. You know, and by all means, you know, I mean, it doesn't have to turn into a sort of Jeremy Paxman interrogation. You don't sit there firing questions all night. You know, it's a conversation. You know, don't endlessly fire questions, but ask questions when you're curious. You know, and in terms of being present during that date, I mean, again, this will be addressed in the guided meditations. There are ways of bringing yourself back into the moment. So when she goes off to get the next round or the next coffee in, or goes off to visit the lavatory, that's a good time to.
Lavatory.
Well,
when was the last time you called it that?
Well, whatever you want to call it.
Sorry, yeah, go on.
You know, Mother Nature calls, and that's a good time to settle back, check in on yourself, and that's not to do a thing of did I say the right thing, or did she find my joke. You know, my joke about whatever funny.
Again, that moment's gone.
That moment's gone. But coming into your body, just coming into your breathing, just settling, make feet on the floor, feeling the weight of your feet on the floor, and feeling supported. That's really important. Feeling supported. The ground is there; it's holding you up. However this date turns out, you're not dying.
Yeah.
You know, this isn't cancer. You know, this is so. Again, and remind yourself, and if you like, repeat it to yourself. You know, unattachment from outcome.
Yeah, you're there to enjoy yourself, and if you can treat getting on really well, if you can treat clicking with the other person as a bonus, then you're going to enjoy yourself more, and you're going to consequently it's going to go better. It doesn't necessarily, again, no attachment to outcome. Doesn't matter. To some extent, whether there's a second date, the first thing to do is enjoy the first one.
Yeah. Another golden rule that this guy broke. I mean, he really did sort of write the book on how not to do it. Was after we'd done the car and the boring job, and how great he was, and this marvelous new flat in a lovely part of town. Inevitably came the bit about all his disastrous dates from the start. You know. How he's been on such a dating site for so long, and how many dates he's been on, and why this one didn't work, and why no one wants to hear that stuff. Not on a first date, a second date, or a third. In fact, never. You know, no one wants to hear that stuff. And if they want to know about it, they'll ask. You know, don't roll out the CV of disastrous dates that you've been on. Nothing attractive about that whatsoever. It doesn't speak very highly of you. To say I've been on.
Yeah, don't roll out the CV at all unless you're asked. I would say it's always better and more interesting to be finding out about the other person. Really, as a human being opposite you.
Yeah.
And if you ask some questions, you'll be putting them at ease as well, because they can, and particularly questions that are quite easy to answer.
Yeah.
Where you're from.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. It doesn't have to be. You don't have to ask the best questions in the world. Just how are you? How's your week been? They're good. They're really good questions. They can be as simple as that. We're not talking. You don't have to hit them out of the ballpark with every question. The questions are simply, I'm getting to know you. I just met you. I'm getting to know you. I'm interested in you. So be presentable, be present, be yourself, and check in on all these things. You can do it while that person's talking. I'm a present here. Just come into your breath for a few seconds, just to ground yourself. Notice that you're overthinking something. Come back to your breath. Sensation of your feet on the floor. So simple. Then, however the date has gone, there's the sort of third stage, which is, and this isn't a post-mortem on the way the date went, but a little gentle reflection is always good. And not kind of the thing not to do really with reflection is to sort of say, is to give yourself a hard time. Should have done this, should have done that. It's all gone.
Yeah, it shouldn't be a performance, and therefore it shouldn't be reviewed as a performance. I think.
If on reflection you've shown up, you've been presentable, you didn't wear the novelty socks or the novelty tie that your grandma gave you for April Fool's Day, right? You've been yourself as much as you can. You've been present, and you've listened. If you've done those 4 things, that date's been a success.
And if somehow you've blown it, and I'm sure we've all got tales about that, if somehow you've blown it, that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
Just treat yourself with compassion, and
that's the learning curve, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
If you've, I just thinking of a random example. If you've told some disastrous joke that completely misjudged the moment. In fact, don't tell jokes. Unless you're really, really confident that that's what this person wants. An Irishman, a Scotsman, and a Welshman walk into a bar is probably not something to roll out on a first date. I'd say, what do you think? Joke telling.
I wouldn't think about it. I wouldn't think about telling them or not telling them,
right.
Truthfully. Again, it just comes down to being in the moment. If you trust your instincts.
Yeah.
Here's a great example. This chat we're having right now.
Yeah.
For the benefit of the listeners, we don't plan these things, do we? We've got nothing written down. We've got we talk for about 30 seconds beforehand about maybe who's going to introduce it and so on. But from there, we very simply trust ourselves to be able to have a chat. And I think that's the way to approach it, really. I think just sort of trust that if you trust yourself to be in presence, and being in presence is something that the meditations will enable you to develop. If you move from performance to presence, then that's good. And if you sort of think, your intention is, I'd like to really enjoy tonight, and that doesn't depend on how well you get on with the other person in some ways. Just enjoy yourself. Thank God you're alive.
Absolutely, and let go of any sort of. One of the common ones that would come up is I'm terrible at dates, and the reason why I'm terrible at dates is because I'm shy. Well, I can state this with absolute certainty. If that person likes you, the fact that you're a little bit shy or a lot shy on a first date is not going to matter to them one iota. In fact, they may find
some people find that very attractive.
Very attractive, yeah. I find shyness to be a really alluring quality, I've got to say. So these things that you might sell to yourself as negatives might in fact be positives. So let go of the idea of judgment about what that you're not a mind reader. You're not sitting there with a crystal ball. You don't know what this person's. You may have had sort of exchanges by text or email or telephone or whatever beforehand, but until you get there, you're not really going to know what this person really wants. They might have given you a few clues, but just let go of all that. Far more important. Be yourself.
And also, it's not a cerebral experience,
No.
is it? You know, there's something magic goes on when two people click
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't rely on the words.
Mm-hmm.
Really.
Mm-hmm.
There's, I can't remember the figures offhand, but it's a tiny percent of human communication is the words you
Mm-hmm.
use, and body language, tone of voice. All these things are so much bigger percentages
Mm-hmm.
of you know, defining two people interacting.
Yeah.
So you know, just relax and say, enjoy the moment.
Yeah.
Enjoy the moment, and then enjoy the next moment, and then enjoy the next moment.
Absolutely. And that brings us nicely to the end of this talk, which I hope you've enjoyed, and good luck with it all. So it's goodbye from John.
And it's goodbye from Gerard. That's a two Ronnies style. Yeah. Thank you very much indeed.
Take care.